Good evening. Right? Am I doing that okay? It's all right. Good evening, folks. It's Aaron Quinn here. I got another Greg with me. It's not Greg Thompson, Greg Vorse. You're all familiar with him. We have a fun show for you tonight. Big game here tonight. Bills versus the Philadelphia Eagles. But first, our guys from Handsome Jack.
Broadcasting live to Bills Mafia worldwide with Greg Thompson and Aaron Quinn.
Welcome to the NFL.
Doesn't matter what's happened before today. Today's a brand new day. It's a brand new season.
Your number one podcast for objective Buffalo Bills coverage. No matter where you are, we got you covered.
Greg, what is happening here, my man?
Getting ready for Thanksgiving, just like everybody else. The red in my eyes is not what some people might think. It's cutting onions.
Oh, you've been cutting onions. The red in my eyes and nose is actually just sickness. I've been sick for like 3 days. It's sick season here in my house with 2 kids. Normally, I avoid it. I get the kung fu out and just stay away from them, drink the vitamin C and all that emergency and stuff. This time they got me. And I'm not good at being, I don't know about you guys, but I'm not very good at it, being sick. I'm probably the worst. My poor wife has to deal with that the rest of the week while getting Thanksgiving dinner together. So luckily, though, I get to just eat a bunch of food and sit down and sit on the couch and relax. Kel here, we were a little late to get the show started. Assumed Aaron is doing his hair. Got to be magnificent since Greg is out of town. No, I got it nice and shaved tight here tonight, but definitely didn't do any hair. But you're great. You're not holding up your end of the bargain with the hair stuff.
It's hat season. Dude, I left TV and hair stopped mattering.
Yeah. Tell Greg. Let Greg know that. All right. Let's get right into this here because we got a fun guest here tonight. We've got Chris Infante from the Philly Sports Network to talk about this Eagles-Bills matchup. What's going on, Chris?
How you guys doing? Like I feel you, Aaron. Like I'm this is long for me. Like, this is really long for me. My barber is filled up this week. I'm like, I gotta at least buzz something because even if like another centimeter, I'm like, okay, the grays start showing and it's the beard. Yep, I'm all gray on the beard too. So I went a half on the beard early, like I'm on Monday, and it's already like this. So
yeah,
it's definitely hat season for me right now.
If only gray was my problem. My problem is if that hair grows out too much, you can see the horseshoe hairline really coming into play.
I already told my wife if my hairline ever recedes a little bit, I'm shaving it off.
You got to.
I can't.
I
refuse. My dad has a real bad like receding hair, like that goes all the way. It looks like the McDonald's logo, kind of. and I'm just like, yeah, that's never happening for me. It's nope.
Got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them.
Absolutely, you got to give it up at some point, man. It's just, but yeah, it's I kind of dealing with the same thing with you, Aaron. My kids, I used to be a teacher, elementary teacher, so my immune system was pretty good.
Ooh, yeah.
For a while. I also went to school up in upstate New York in SUNY Cortland, so I'm good with the cold, pretty much. But lately, just been kicking my ass, man. It's just of course, this week and my daughter has coughs everywhere. My son has boogers coming out of and we all know what tomorrow is. So. It's just been a great few days here, but yeah, I'm excited. I'm 9-1. Yeah. Excited for Sunday. It'll be my first game of the season. I'm actually going to the game, so it'll be my first game of the season. Kelly Green versus all white. How beautiful!
It'll at least look pretty.
Yeah,
right.
It will look pretty. At least fashion wise, it will look pretty.
Exactly. Hopefully, it'll look pretty on the field too. But I want to get sort of your vibe here. Obviously, going to the Super Bowl. Having the best record in the NFL, things seem like they couldn't be better for Eagles fans. Is that sort of where you're living at right now?
Not even close.
Yeah.
It's just, if Eagles fans are anything outside of obnoxious, we're also pretty honest. Like it's like we're not going to ride it. Like we love being 9-1. Like it, and it's much better to win ugly than to lose ugly. It's if you're winning ugly, at least you can kind of adjust here and there and make it look pretty the next time, hopefully. But if you're losing ugly, that means you have a whole lot of problems to fix. So, thankfully, Hurts has ice in his veins and all these leads that he's helped extinguish, especially last a few days ago with the Chiefs being down. And I've always said, I like right at the halftime, I said Eagles have always been a second half team, and they shut them out second half. It's just I'd rather not have my blood pressure raise over first half hour or so of the game, but it's crazy how much work they still have to do, and yet they are still 9-1. But it's a good situation, but at the same time, there's a long way to go.
Yeah, and that ability to find multiple ways to win. So when I went back and watched, I've seen a lot of Eagles games. I watch Red Zone when the Bills aren't on, right? So I see a lot of the NFL stuff. But every week when I'm prepping for this show, I watch probably 4 or 5 games. I watch back 4 games of the Eagles here. And it seems like, that Commanders, like you're saying, the Commanders had them. It looked like they had them in the first half there. And then Philly comes back and finds a way to win. Even against Cowboys this last week against the Chiefs here. But it's all in different ways. And does that make you feel good in that not only does having a 9-1 record feel good, but in finding multiple ways to win in different challenges, where for the Bills, it always seems like Josh Allen has to play real fantastic and get this offense going, right? For them to find a way to win. They're not in those tight, close games where it's an inferior opponent. They're not pulling it out all the time, where the Eagles seem to always find a way, whether it's through the run game, whether it's the defense stepping up, whether it is, AJ Brown having huge games and stuff like that. That's got to give you some solace that it's finding ways to win in different situations.
Yeah, it definitely does. Having a quarterback like Hurts, who isn't really too unlike Josh Allen. When Josh Allen came into the league, he had horrible accuracy. He was what 50% or so accuracy, and he got to where he is now. Hurts now, he's really refined his game from a glorified running back where he was 2 seasons ago to now a really dual threat quarterback where even if it has the like you saw on Sunday, their Chiefs secondary was nasty, especially L'Jarius Sneed. And Hurts can really pull it and run and make those plays when he has to. But when it's a defense that can really shut down the quarterback with their legs, and he can now really drop it in a bucket. And we saw with that Devonta Smith catch, which was an incredible catch. And of course, tackled at the 1 yard line. Then we got the brotherly shove right at the end there. And it does give me some calmness when it's those kinds of games, because I know there's so many ways that Hurts can pull it out. Which was way different than it was 2 years ago. So that's great. My thing is the defense, what kind of defense we're going to have, how Hurts is incredible. He does have his moments, just like Josh Allen. But what kind of defense am I going to get? Am I going to get the defense that's going to let Sam Howell throw for 400-something yards, and almost lose to that team? Or we're going to have a defense that could shut down Patrick Mahomes in a second half. It's crazy. Hopefully I know he's not what he once was, but I really hope we get Darius Leonard or Shaq Leonard down. And because that linebacker room is real thin. So, but offensively, I really don't have any worry outside of Brian Johnson calling a QB draw on 3rd and 11, in the red zone. But outside of that, it's Desai. Sean Desai has done a really nice job this year, but it comes to personnel sometimes. So really, we'll see on Sunday. Slade versus Diggs, or if it's Bradbury versus Diggs, it's gonna be with Byard over the top on the phenom Dalton Kincaid, and who was my sleeper pick in fantasy, and he's finally paying off for me. And so it's going to be a great battle on both sides on Sunday.
Sorry, I was muted there in case I had a cough or sniffle or anything. Greg, do you want to jump right into your side of the ball there?
Yeah, that's fine. I can jump in. Talking Bills defense versus the Eagles offense. One thing you mentioned how there's a lot you can learn just from last week. 5 sacks allowed there against the Chiefs. The Bills have a very good defensive line with Rousseau and Epinesa and Floyd and that group, Oliver. What do you see Kelsey and your group up front doing to try and slow down the Bills, who are third right now in sacks per game? How do you see that matchup? Because looking at it from the Buffalo perspective, and if you watch that KC game last week, that's where you're going, okay, this can be a win.
Yeah, so just like before, with the Chiefs, it was like 5-6 sacks, like right, boom, 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 and then we get in the running game. Then it's DeAndre Swift. It's going to have to be like that again. Kels. Now that we have Jurgens back, it is going to be. They're going to move it. They're going to move Oliver. I love Ed Oliver, man. When he was coming out, I was hoping the Eagles got him. He was just a phenom coming out, and then that whole defensive line, it's always an argument who has the best defensive line in football, and the Bills are always up there with the Eagles and now with the Chiefs and all that. And it's going to be a battle of who can get off the ball faster, and it's going to be and usually that works in the Eagles' favor when it comes to the run game. They're going to have to really work on cadences a little bit better. I saw that on Sunday. Jurgens was kind of tipping his hand a little bit. He was kind of tapping Kelsey every now. Oh, we lose me?
I got you.
Got me? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, to be completely honest, I'm in my office, which is my shed outside. The previous owners made this actually into like a little music studio. So it has little installation all over. I have a space heater. It's actually my office for my new job now. So my Wi-Fi is spotty from time to time. Of course it is now. But like I was saying, like Jurgens was kind of tipping his hand a little bit. So Chiefs deep, like especially Chris Jones on Sunday, he was able to get a good jump on Kelsey a lot, on Jurgens, on Dickerson. And he was really messing up the timing of all of Hurts' dropbacks. So they're gonna have to do that again because there's no rest between defensive lines here. You might have a better defensive line coming up to them on Sunday. So it's really they're gonna have to establish the run game early, just with Swift, even with Hurts a little bit. Gainwell, I like Kenny G. I like his music. I like his play style, but you gotta kind of shy away from him because he's not the type of ground and pound type of guy. He's a receiving back, and I don't think that's going to work well. You got to really use DeAndre Smith to hit the north-south and really keep that defensive line honest, and not just pull up their ears and be like, I'm going to go after Hurts. Really keep them honest and say, you know what, we got to respect both kinds of the offense here. And apologies because that was my wife giving me the baby monitor because she has to run to Walmart for stuff for tomorrow. So that's what it was.
Is that all you got on offense, Greg?
No, I have plenty more questions. Oh, I thought you wanted to go back and forth.
No. Go for it. Stay on the offense for a minute. I'll take over.
Then we'll go. You mentioned Swift and Hurts and the running game. I've covered the Bills since 2004. I was an intern in TV in Erie, Pennsylvania, covering them all the way back there. If there's one thing that drives Bills Mafia nuts, even back those almost 20 years, it's that they sometimes just get absolutely gashed by the best running backs in the league. I always think back to a Saints game when Ingram and Kamara both went insane in one performance against the Bills. You talked about those guys being that Swift being that relief valve, if you will, for Hurts. Is that where you might? We know you got Brown and Devonta Smith and AJ, and those guys are amazing. But is that where the vulnerability might be? Is where what Swift can do?
Oh yeah, when the Eagles traded for him a draft day, there was like probably a huge sigh of relief within all of Eagles Twitter that we can finally have a bell cow running back since Shady, maybe, because when we won the Super Bowl, it was a four-headed monster. It was LeGarrette Blount, it was Jay Ajayi, it was Corey Clement, it was Darren Sproles. So that type of running back by committee approach has been here for so long. And it's been frustrating. I mean, obviously we went that far last year, but there was never that one running back to give the ball and be like, go. Miles Sanders, we thought Miles Sanders could be that guy. He was from time to time, but fumbling issues would kill him. And we see how he kind of is in Carolina right now. So when he came, obviously the injuries had been a big issue. Even with Rashad Penny, we thought he'd be a lot more than he is now. But DeAndre Swift coming to Philly was such a godsend because now they can finally give the ball to someone who can carry the ball 10 to 15 times, what the Eagles kind of like to do, and still get you 80 to 100 yards because he's just getting chunk plays and chunk plays and chunk plays. That's something we haven't gotten consistently. Before, it's been every now and then. Like Miles Sanders' average was 4.5 to 5 for sometimes because of that 1 or 2 big runs. And then after that, it was like a 2-yard, 3-yard run. But now we have a consistent 5-yard run, 4-yard run, 6-yard run. And it's just going to be wearing down that defensive line. And even those linebackers, now you can come back and Hurts can quick hit, throw A.J. Brown in a slot. You got an exhausted linebacker on him now because he's trying to keep up with the running backs, and A.J. Brown's going to feast, and same thing and with on the outside. If you're feeding Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown over and over and over, those cornerbacks are going to get a little tired too. You hit it with outside run, DeAndre Swift, no one's tackling him. So he's between running and pass catching, man. He has really been a great addition to this offense. An addition that we really didn't think we needed that much. But we see how he's been healthy. Like a healthy DeAndre Swift this year has been a top running back in this league, and it's been great.
You started to go outside wider there with the 2 receivers that the Eagles have. How do you see that playing out? Because right now, you look back to just last week, Rasul Douglas took 100% of the Bills' defensive snaps. He was that CB1. That Brandon Beane killed that trade, a 3 for him and a 5. Looks like a fantastic deal right now for Buffalo. But after Douglas, it was kind of a mash unit in the secondary. You just talked about what the Eagles can do in the running game. Douglas can't guard both Smith and Brown at the same time. So someone is going to be, whether it's a bracket coverage or however the Bills decide to deploy that secondary, someone's not going to be covered by Douglas.
You're going to have to see what the Chiefs did. The Jarrett Sneed was what Rasul Douglas was last week. He was on A.J. Brown pretty much everywhere. But what did that do? That opened up Devonta Smith a lot, So that's the bread and butter of the Eagles. Whoever's doubling the other or really locking down the other, just throw it to the other guy, and A.J. Brown will get his. He's he had a rare down couple weeks here. He didn't do his extended streak against the Cowboys. Then we had the bye, and then he had a down game last game. I feel like he's that kind of guy to be like, I'm not making this 3 in a row. So I love Rasul. He drafted by the Eagles. He was kind of mismanaged here with our previous administration. I just loved seeing him flourish in Green Bay, and now what he did last week with his first game with you guys. If anyone's going to have a good game on defense for you guys on Sunday in a place that he is so used to playing in, it's Rasul. And we've had so many times where fans would actually call for him to go to safety because we didn't think he could do it at outside corner, boundary corner, Jim Schwartz defense. We just didn't think he could do it. Now he's killing it. But to your point, if there's no one outside of Rasul to really get after it, Devontae's going to have his day. And if Rasul shifts over to Devontae, who's going to guard A.J. Brown? So it's really pick your poison there. There's kind of an advantage with the linebackers on tight ends because we don't have Dallas Goedert right now. And even though they don't want to put him on IR, he's not practicing, so he's not going to play. So there is hope that he comes back the following week versus San Francisco. But without that tight end threat, maybe you could throw Julio Jones in there in a 11 personnel more, but he's not Julio Jones anymore. I loved when they signed him. It was fun. It was great. I actually ordered from DHgate a Kelly Green Julio Jones jersey just to have say, hey, I have a Julio Jones Kelly Green jersey. And it shipped, but who knows when it's going to be here. And it's just that even if he was a fraction of what he used to be, then you'd be like, okay, we have 3 wide receivers now, and who cares if Dallas Goedert's out? And we kind of saw against the Chiefs really Dallas being missed. Just who's Jack Stoll caught 1 or 2 passes. Great. Grant Calcaterra left with an ankle injury. So, and then outside of that, we have Albert O, and I cannot pronounce his last name, who they traded for in August from the Broncos. Oh, I loved coming out of college. I absolutely loved him coming out of college. But he's been a healthy scratch for so long until Dallas got hurt. So there's not much there tight end wise. It's just Devontae, it's AJ, and it's DeAndre Swift for his pass catchers right now. And if the Bills can really be like, hey, if that's all you got, then especially, I know Milano's got hurt, but still got a great front seven there. So they need to be able to really shut down at least Devontae a little bit, and then their offense is kind of one-dimensional there.
Two more quick hitters from me, then I'll pass you over to Aaron and the other side of the ball. What you obviously see the brotherly shove, the tush push. If you want to go back to USC Notre Dame, the Bush push, whatever you want to call it, you see it way more than anyone else because you watch your team way more than anyone else. What works the best? If they get to that situation, is it better off for the Bills to throw in Linval Joseph and Settle and Phillips and all the big hogs? Or is it better to have the athletes, if you will, out there? What works best?
First of all, how dare you mention Linval Joseph before saying Eagles legend Linval Joseph? That guy came in late November last year and was with Sue. Ooh, they were such a great pickup, man. And I was happy to see him get a job, and especially with you guys. Like growing up, now that I said that I went up to SUNY Cortland over. If no one knows where it is, I was right by Syracuse. Surrounded by Bills fans, surrounded by Bills fans. And that was the JP Lossman days when I was there. And, a lot of drinking Bills fans back then. And
they still do that. They still do that.
Oh yeah. Me too. But it was very violent drinking back then because it was JP Lossman. And it's just but it was, so I've always had an affinity for Buffalo. Central New York and West New York was right there. I have a lot of friends who live in Rochester. So I was happy to see him go there. I was happy to see Rasul go there. If there was ever an AFC team for me to see a free agent that I wanted go, it's always been Buffalo. But to your point, I mean, every team has tried every which way. They've tried the big guys up front to kind of, get it under it. They've tried the athletes to kind of jump over it. It's the whole concept of the brotherly shove is just like Thanos. It's inevitable. It's going to happen whether you like it or not. And your best chance of stopping it is to keep them from those 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 situations. I mean, even 2. If I've seen them, go 4th and 2, 3rd and 2, and they do it and they get it. I watch it all the time, and I still don't really understand how they are so great at it, and everyone else sucks, and everyone else is getting hurt. Like I think Kenny Pickett just got hurt, but doing it. I think Daniel Jones got hurt doing it at some point. So all these people calling to ban it. It's just no one else can do it the right way. But defensively, I don't know. I've seen opinions say, hey, maybe try and get right underneath and disrupt the snap or whatever, or just launch right over and try and get the quarterback right there, like torpedo yourself type of thing. I don't like. I maybe throw a cornerback blitz in there to kind of pull him from behind. It's rough because that you don't want to throw everything at it. Because I think it was against the Cowboys where they ran the trick play off of it. Like it was not a brotherly shove, it was a brotherly pitch, and he faked it, and then Swift went and scored a touchdown off of it. So you don't want to put all your eggs in the basket and show Hurts hey, we're gonna stop this. He's just gonna audible and just pitch it outside. So that's it's just an unstoppable play, man. But it's just the Chiefs. They did a great job keeping him out of it for the most part. And I think the only time they were able to do it was on the Devonta Smith catch for the touchdown. So you keep him out of it, then you have no problem trying to stop it.
Lastly, for me, and this is an offense or defense, I've known the Sirianni family since 2008 when I moved to Western New York. And Nick is one of those guys. The first time you meet him, you're kind of like, damn, this dude's brash. My goodness, is he cocky? And then you meet him a second time and a third time and a fourth time, and you start to become friends. And you know what? No, this guy just knows what he's doing so well, and he's so smart. And if you can't keep up, he leaves you behind. And this is even when he was the wide receiver coach for the Chargers and then working for the Colts. That's just how, and his whole family, they're all football savants. His brother Mike has won national championships at W&J. His brother Jay has won state championships at Southwestern High School, which is just down the road for me. But he's made a lot of headlines this week for kind of that brashness coming out post game against the Chiefs. Your smile answers my question, but I'll still ask it. You guys love this, don't you?
He's the type of coach, and like there's always those players, like the Sixers right now. They got Pat Beverly, and last year we had Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. It's those players that you hate to have on the other team because they are such.
But you want them. But you want them
on your team. So if Sirianni was on another team, I'd be doing the same thing like every other fan base, like get a load of this guy, like shut up. But I have never seen a coach made for Philadelphia more than Nick Sirianni is, man. He just loves the game. Like he really does. Yeah, it's a little over the top sometimes. Like when I saw that TikTok or whatever it was, when he was like, Chiefs fans aren't, talking anything right now. I'm like, all right, that's a little bit much. Like, who cares about the fans at that point? But my thing, I take issue with the people that have issues with how he acts on the sidelines. Like, he's just passionate. Like you've never seen your own coach good after referees if they had a bad call, and I mean, refs have bad calls all game, every game. So I think Chiefs fans are saying, "Oh, Andy Reid will never do this." I'm like, you've never seen Andy Reid in the early 2000s then with the Eagles. Like, he's a passionate guy too. He's just a different type of passionate. Nick Sirianni is just Philly through and through, man. And it really, even the area of Western New York, I have met so many people from Western New York, and it's just the attitude of the area, man. It's just, if you know your stuff, like especially hockey, Western New York is hockey. And if you know, you're going to have that type of attitude for hockey too. And it's just the way he is. And I absolutely love it. But again, if he was the coach of another team, I want him just completely gone. But he really is, like, just hearing him talk and all the way from that first press conference, from everyone that was bashing him for just stuttering, for having, like, dude was nervous. But then you see all these players come to his defense, especially Darius Leonard, who said, this guy's just passionate. Have you ever heard him in a room, the wide receivers room, the offensive room, wherever it is? He's a great coach. He knows what he's talking about. He may have the dumbest idioms and metaphors for football, like last year when he said, it's just like we're just planting the seeds of a garden and all this stuff. But ever since then, I believe they're like 20-something and 4 or something like some crazy record since that speech, since that press conference of comparing the Eagles roster to planting stuff in gardens. So it's just, he's by all accounts of, like you said, you've met him. I've only seen, videos and all that stuff. He just seems like a great guy who loves his players, who just loves to win and wants to make the fans happy. And if that comes off as a brash, arrogant a-hole, oh well. Yeah.
Aaron and I are both Michigan football fans, so we get the weird colloquialisms of coaches and stuff that doesn't make sense. We get it.
Yeah. I mean, our own fan base deals with coach speak that everyone tries to decipher every week, and some people think it's corny and doesn't make sense. But we also here in Western New York have a brash, trash talking guy, especially when things are going well, and Josh Allen. And my question here as we start on the Eagles defense versus the Bills offense is, it starts with Josh Allen for Buffalo, right? Him getting going is really what changes everything, and him having that type of swagger that we saw here this last week. As a Philly fan looking at this defense, I'm not going to go through every single list of the names. Everybody knows who's on this Philly defense, right? You guys are one of the best teams in football, so we know the personnel here. But how are you looking at this Bills offense and Josh Allen specifically and thinking of, how do we get this guy slow down and stop him and get him to throw some of those crazy balls and get some of those picks?
Yeah, it's going. You're going to have to get home quick on Josh Allen, man. Like, you saw what Patty Mahomes did last week. If the pocket was collapsing, he was leaving. And we don't
even Dak in that first half was doing a little bit of that, right?
Like quarterbacks that, I mean, they're mobile, but they're not known for running. I mean, Josh Allen's known for running. He's had plenty of 100-yard games as a runner, but he could sling it 70, 80 yards. Other quarterbacks who aren't known for running, they see the Eagles just, we're going to leave. I know the linebackers can't catch me. So, our linebackers are more run stuffing guys downhill. Let's clog up the lanes. You send everybody in those A gaps because outside it's completely free. So they're going to need to be really disciplined with Josh Allen. Now that we have a safety in Kevin Byard and to go with Ed Reed Blankenship, the best white safety in the league. Since
Well, I mean, there's not a. You okay over there?
That's there was an air conditioning up there that my cord just fell down. But even though there's not many of them in the league, this is still the best one out there.
Yeah.
Now we finally have some safeties to let Sidney Brown kind of develop on the side instead of throwing him in. For the first time in a long time, we had Malcolm Jenkins years before. We've had Roddy McLeod, but since then, we started the season with Terrell Edmonds. Come on. So now that we have those two back there, it kind of helps out the outfield, so to speak. With Josh Allen with his deep balls, at least we can have the safeties back there. But if the pocket collapses and he's gone, Zach Cunningham's not getting him. Nicholas Morrow's not getting him. Nakobe Dean's gone. He's on IR. We really don't have anybody outside of that that's why the big interest in Shaq Leonard is there. Even though he's maybe a fraction of what he was before he was injured, still need bodies back there. They just brought in Anthony Barr to work out, and now he 5 minutes later he was back with the Vikings. So they're definitely interested in bringing more linebackers in because of that fact. When they're not stopping the run, the quarterback's gonna be like, you know what, I'm gonna run it myself. And it's hurting the Eagles a lot. There's been so many second and longs, third and longs converted because of quarterback runs, because everything on the back end's good because they're cushioning off so much and let's defend this deep pass. Quarterback's gonna run. So that's the biggest issue. I know it sounds kind of stupid to say you gotta make Josh Allen throw, but Josh Allen's gotta throw. He can't beat you with his legs because as you just said, he's been a little bit wild this year. So if you can pressure him a little bit, but keep him in that pocket, he's going to force one to you. And we saw Patty Mahomes do it last week in the end zone to Byard. And this is a very opportunistic defense lately. And even though the picks haven't been there, they like to punch it out. And they like to – you saw Jalen Carter try to intercept a spike.
Yeah.
We have a very opportunistic defense that wants to turn over the ball. And I think that stems from the coach and Sean Desai. And he's brought that aggressive mindset. And one of his first press conferences was that we want to get the ball. We want to get the ball out. And you're facing a quarterback that, has a tendency to do that. And you got to jump on that. So, if you don't make Josh Allen run, I think, and it's kind of opposite. It's kind of stupid to say make him throw, but it stems back to that stupid comment that Robbie Gould said after the NFC Championship game. If you make Hurts throw, you're gonna have a good game, type of thing. But really, if you make Josh Allen, you pressure him, you make him throw. He's probably one or two times he's going to put something up there to let you get it.
I don't think it's a stupid comment. We've heard people talk about it before, more in early stages of Josh, but I always compare it to when you go up against a LeBron, right? He's going to get his points, but you want to contain him from putting up 50 on you, right? And so the way to stop a Josh Allen really from having those big explosive plays is keeping him in the pocket. He's still going to do some things against you, but it's when he gets out of the pocket, is able to run. And I agree with you. I think in watching the Eagles, another thing inside with those linebackers is I think the Eagles get home a lot and they have a good pass rush, but it's not always they're not always staying in their lanes, right? They're pinning their ears back and it's a little bit undisciplined at times, but it wreaks havoc. But when you get a quarterback that can run and step up in those pockets, you can get in trouble with the linebackers there. But speaking on these linebackers, because on my side of the ball, when I'm looking at it, I'm looking at that defensive line and thinking, man, that's going to be a long day for this offensive line. But if we can get to that second level, especially in the passing game, I think that is probably the area of weakness to attack with both James Cook in the passing game and with the guy you talking about, Dalton Kincaid, trying to get him in space there in the middle of the field and sort of attack that middle of the field. You talked about those safeties. Are they using the safeties a little bit more to help out those linebackers to protect from some of that stuff happening in the middle of the field? We saw it a little bit against KC. Kelsey didn't take that game over. Is that going to be a similar plan with Kincaid?
I would say so, especially, if the set is smart, he would see how Kincaid's been coming on the last few weeks, especially since Knox has been hurt and all that. And and see that even though he's a rookie, he's talented. He even coming out like the reason why I drafted him as fantasy because I knew he was more of an F, tight. He was more of a get out there and work type of thing. And between Diggs, Davis, and Kincaid, I was like he could be really 3 big pass catchers for Allen. And yeah, Byard was all over Kelsey last week. There was the miscommunication with the Kelsey touchdown, and that was more of a pick play that really wasn't called a pick, and things like that. Byard was there, Slay got whatever, and Kelsey was, and I don't think he got more than 50 yards that game. I gotta look at the stats, but Kelsey was really a no-show for a long time, and that was a big part of Byard, and historically when Byard was in Tennessee his whole career. Byard kind of had Kelsey's number looking at the stats from previous matchups. But now that we finally have a safety to cover those tight ends, it does help the linebackers a little bit. Now linebackers don't have to worry about – we don't have to worry about Zach Cunningham trying to keep up with Kincaid. Or maybe we still have to worry about him keeping up with Cook, and however you're using Blount, not Blount, Fournette. So we still got to worry about that, but at least that's one aspect of the middle of the field that we don't really have to worry about anymore. That second level that's been such a point of contention for me, especially because we for so long, like you said, pin your ears back, go get the quarterback, but when the linebackers aren't that great, quarterback's releasing the ball within a second and a half, 2 seconds. So there's even Myles Garrett can get to the quarterback in less than 2 seconds. It's impossible, near impossible. So if you can't get your guys, like Josh Sweat has one of the best get-offs in all of football.
Yep.
Same thing with our all-pro rookie, Jalen Carter. He has one of the best get-offs in all of football. And he's pushing guys back into the pocket as soon as he gets up. But quarterback has given the ball up already because there's no one in that second level to guard, any slants, any crossing routes, anything like that, even any short curl routes. There's no one to guard that because our linebackers are just run stuffers. So that's going to be a little stressful. We saw, Justin Watson, he had a couple short throws, even on, Slay and Bradbury aren't what they used to be. I'm surprised. I'm more surprised about Bradbury.
Yeah, I'm a big Bradbury fan.
Slay's 32 now, and I always hate talking about ages with athletes because it makes me feel like I'm 34 and I had back surgery last January and I still can't move. So we have 32. He sucks. He's old. So it's. But at the same, he's a quarterback, so he's had a lot of tread on his tires, and he's definitely not what he used to be. He's not the Pro Bowler Slay. He's not the All-Pro Slay that we're used to. Right now, he's just out there just playing. But Bradbury, I'm more surprised that he's getting burned a lot. So if they can do their job on the outside, I'm still worried about that linebacker group, man. And it could be real ugly real quick if they're not doing the same kind of game plan that they did against KC.
Yeah, well, I hope so. No, but before we get you out of here, we do it to all of our guests here. I want to give you a chance to kind of tell us what kind of game you think it's going to be, and then we're going to put you on the spot and get a score prediction out of you.
It's first, like we said at the beginning of the podcast, it's gonna be an aesthetically pleasing game. I gotta brush off. I think the only Kelly Green I have is a Trent Cole Kelly Green. I gotta find that somewhere. And I'm excited to get to that game on Sunday. I'm not sure what the weather is. I haven't checked it yet, but regardless of the weather, like we all said, it's gonna come. Like every Eagles game comes down to, it is a trenches battle. Like they lost both sides of the ball on Sunday for the most part. That offensive line was getting their ass kicked. The defensive line wasn't getting home to Patty Mahomes until the second half. Buffalo's been, up and down like crazy this year. And selfishly, I do think the Eagles are going to win because I just think DeAndre Swift last game just got – I think it's going to be another DeAndre Swift game. I think he just got weight. He got more confidence last game. Really got his legs under him, and he was just gashing up that Chiefs defensive line. And I don't see anything differently this time. I think the way you beat Buffalo is you get ground and pound. You hit it up the gut. You'll have some well-timed throws here and there, but it's really going to be a time of possession game. Keep Josh Allen off the field, and the way you do that is you run the ball. But I do think our defense is going to give up some points. So. Diggs has been down a little too much. He's another wide receiver that if you keep him down too much, he's going to come back and be like, I need to take over. And I'm sure his little brother is giving him a thing or two on the Philly defense too. So, even though little brother wants him out of Buffalo, I'm sure he's going to say, hey, you got to beat our rivals to help us out. I'd say, Eagles have even though the offensive plays have been a little bit better lately, they still haven't had that real big breakout game. So I can't say they're putting up 30 because I really don't think they will. I think it's going to be a 24-20 type game. And like it's going to be another classic Philly game. Josh Allen has the ball, 2 minutes left. What Eagles don't have any more timeouts because Sirianni probably challenged something that he shouldn't have. And we're all going to be stressed out of our minds and, praying to God, praying to anything that we can pray to, like what's going on here. And it's going to end up being a, turnover on downs because that's just how it's been all season. So I'm going to say 24-20. Eagles 10-1 going to the rematch against the crybaby 49ers.
For weather purposes, obviously we're a little bit far out still, but it is looking in Philly, maybe rain around game time. It's about a 60% chance of rain, 40 something degrees right around kickoff. So it could play into some of what you're saying with the ground game, getting that going. Could be another sloppy like it was in Kansas City here this last week. But Chris, tell the people where they can find you and what you're going to be up to here with content.
Sure. So in my tag right there, Infante 54, I am hot take central most of the time. But it's just, it's fun. I've written a lot in the past. I've gone away from it a little bit. I've been doing a little bit more of just, these podcasts from now here and there. But I've had me and my guys at Philly Sports Network. We've had a long history of doing some great things with Eagle Sports. I've interviewed Brian Dawkins before. I've interviewed for his mental health podcast. I've interviewed Trey Thomas. We've had a lot. I've been on the cover of the front page of the Metro Philadelphia sometimes for my articles. So I do some pretty decent things, But
Yep.
feel free to follow me. I even though I'm a Eagles fan, obviously I'm a football fan. I appreciate everything the Bills do. I've loved watching them for so long. Being almost up close to personal upstate New York. It's just a fun team, especially you guys got even though he might be out this year, I think you had my guy Sean McDermott.
He's not going anywhere.
I hated him as a defensive coordinator, kind of, but he's still because those were some tough years back then.
Yeah.
But it's just been a fun time, watching the Bills, and please, I do ask for some grace on some of my tweets because sometimes I just tweet or X without thinking. Sometimes.
Hey, we all do that.
I'm a big name recognition guy, and if I see a name that I like, I don't like. Sometimes I just don't follow. I don't know how bad they've been. So if, like, for example, Shaq Leonard, as soon as I'm like, all right, Howie, let's go. And then I see that he's been actually pretty bad this year.
Yeah.
But like when J.C. Jackson got released or when he got traded earlier, and I was like, J.C. Jackson, we need a slot. He has actually been pretty bad this year. So I had so many people like go on my mentions like, have you won watching him? No, I live in New Jersey. Like they live work.
The internet will tell you. Yeah.
Like, come on, like give me a break. And some of these people like give me paragraphs. I'm like, guys, just go get a job or something and just let me just tweet,
Right.
It's really not that serious. But I'm not one of those like, Eagles only, Eagles all the time. I like to have fun. So and for those baseball fans out there, I'm a Red Sox fan. So
we're done. Bye. See ya.
In that case, get out.
That's why I left that for the last. That's why I left that for the last.
Well, Chris, I hope you have a fantastic Thanksgiving and enjoy the game, man. Get out there, enjoy the game, and good luck to the Eagles. I hope they lose, but I hope everybody stays healthy and it's a good game.
Thank you guys too. And if anybody out there is going to the game and is in the area, M-Lot, I will post pictures. The M-Lot, I wrote an article about the maestro of M-Lot. My friend Dylan, he does tailgates. He does duck. He does prime rib. He does Wagyu beef. We're doing a big Thanksgiving feast on Sunday. Anybody is welcome. It's an incredible time. I've been trying to get that Buffalo-based grilling guy, Cuso Cuts. I've been trying to get him down to see if he's going down there, because that'll be fun. So if anybody's down there, feel free. I'll be there to watch Jalen Hurts go 10-1.
Hey, there you go, man. All right. Hey, happy Thanksgiving and good luck.
Happy Thanksgiving, guys. Thank you for having me.
All right, Greg. Now, before we get too deep into continuing on this conversation, I do want to tell the fine people here, again, every single week we are doing a left turn fresh look of the week. And this week is week 12 of season 5 of the Left Turn Game Day series. Out now, this week's design was by Sal Sassone and is titled Chasing Wings. 100 stamped and numbered prints get released each week on Instagram and Twitter at Leftern Co. So give them a follow. The website to purchase is www.leftern.co. Grab one before they're gone. Individual print sales this season will help support Buffalo Cares, a local nonprofit that helps find homes for abandoned and sheltered animals locally. Please go help support local artists, local business, and local nonprofits that are doing incredible work. We always talk about these. I actually bought the Broncos one. It is shipping. It's heading my way. This one is actually another one. I always say, oh, these are so cool. This one's so cool. This is another one that just fits the aesthetic of my home. We are millennials that paint everything gray in my house. So everything's like got that gray black aesthetic. And this, for people that are just listening, it's just a black and white print. It's got the Philadelphia Museum with the stairs that you're familiar with, the Rocky movie of him running up the stairs. And it's got a guy chasing a bird up the stairs. And in the clouds, it says Chasing Wings, and beautiful bold fonts, BUF versus the Birds. And obviously, hopefully this will be a big game to remember, and the Bills continuing to get right here at the bye week, but also a really good holiday gift. This is right around the holidays here, so a good way to remember the holidays for any of those Bills fans that are out there. If you're looking for something for a Bills fan for the holidays, that they have everything, like a Greg Thompson who has every single possible Bills knickknack that you could buy him. He doesn't have this, so you can get on and buy something like this. And so, yeah, I love Left Turn. I'm going to run out of frames and spaces on my wall here to put their work, but that's a good problem to have. So with the Left Turn fresh design of the week, is there anything for you, Greg, here this week? Obviously, Joe Brady came in here this last week, and we saw some new wrinkles to a familiar offense, right? Them really prioritizing running backs in the passing game was something that I really liked and look forward to. Again, I think that might be something that they lean into a little bit here this week. But in watching and getting ready for this matchup against a really stout team on both sides of the ball, is there anything different that you're going to expect to see from this Buffalo Bills team? Or is it going to be just kind of leaning into your fastball and trying to go toe-to-toe with a big juggernaut team?
There are two things that I really like, and Chris mentioned both of these when he was talking to you. If you go back to Joe Brady at 2019 with LSU, we saw some of those same things that he did with Clyde Edwards-Helaire that he did Sunday with James Cook. And I can see more of that. And Chris mentioned this, that if there's somewhere that you can really exploit these Eagles, it's that 22 or line of scrimmage to 20 yards, that area. And I feel like that's where we could see a James Cook becoming that guy. It was, I think his first name was Thaddeus Moss, Randy's oldest son for LSU, that was kind of the forgotten guy in that insane group of Jefferson and Chase and Marshall with Burrow at LSU. But those two guys, if you're going to steal some fantasy stuff, it's that Kincaid can find those soft spots and Cook could be that PPR machine. Those might be the two things that I really would like to see. And then Chris mentioned Diggs has been kind of quiet, and Diggs isn't a guy that's quiet many games in a row. So is this a 10 for 120 and 2 out of Diggs type of performance? I'd take it.
Yeah, for sure. Real quick here, Brian in the with a super chat asking, Aaron, why do you look different? Did you shave, or do you just look weird because you're on the left side of my screen? I am sitting in Greg's seat on the screen here, but no, I did shave. Greg is coming. Greg Vorse is here, so I want to make sure that I looked good. You know, Greg Thompson, he's my old love. I don't need to look good for him anymore. So Greg coming on, I had to shave it off and get it fresh and get the butt chin back out here exposed. So thank you for noticing. That is a fresh look of the week, as well as me trimming up a little bit and get myself clean for the holiday. Greg, my fresh look is, I agree with you. I would love to see Diggs get going again. I don't know that it's ever not going to be a problem that he's not getting those yards. I don't want to allude to that, but you do want to continue to get your number one wide receiver involved in this offense, right? But for me, the fresh look is in watching these games. I agree with Chris that Josh Allen's legs could be a big problem for the Philadelphia Eagles in this game, and not just the scrambles where their rushing lanes are a little bit undisciplined and he finds those lanes. I think that's going to be there for him, especially if they want to play man coverage. I think that could be a big problem for him. They're going to switch up coverages like crazy, right? It's that they send rotational guys after you and they're going to give you all different types of looks, but there was some cover zero stuff that they were doing against the Chiefs. And I think they're going to try to pull some of that back out here against the Bills. And if you do that, and you don't get home, I think that's going to open up some stuff for Josh. But I've been a proponent of this for a long time. And I agree with the people that didn't want to see Josh getting used in designed runs in meaningless games or in bad spots or anything like that, or taking too many hits on him. This isn't that. This is not a meaningless game anymore. You're now into November. You've buried yourself into a hole. Your schedule here coming up is brutal. This is a good run team, but you still have to, in my opinion, go to the run, establish a run, whether that's with Cook or whether it is with designed Josh Allen runs. And I think that there's going to be some hay for them in a designed run game and keeping those guys honest and keeping that defensive line disciplined and staying in their gaps and maybe bringing in a QB spy type of thing and opening some stuff up in the middle. I think his legs and the weaponization of those legs matters big time in a game like this. And specifically if they get into the red zone, using that type of threat in the red zone, moving pockets, it doesn't even have to be a designed run, but getting him moving in the pocket, forcing those guys to be chasing after him, forcing those linebackers to make decisions on whether they come up to him or leave Kincaid open. And the way Josh Allen was dealing and the quick progressions that he was making last week, I like those matchups. So I would like to see a little bit more from Josh in the run game, both designed and on the scramble.
One other thing, and I don't have any stats for this. This could all just be my eye test.
Conjecture, yeah.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it, is as much as the Bills love to sub that D-line, the Eagles also love to sub their D-line. Getting into that rhythm, getting into where the play call comes in, we get into formation, we go. And they're exactly up-tempo. There isn't a chance. Get Jordan Davis stuck on the field. The dude is a monster, but a monster also has to move a lot.
Yeah.
Get those packages stuck on the field and start to run. I know this name is not allowed to be said here, but Tom Brady would get teams stuck in their defenses so much, and it was just death by paper cut, death by paper cut, death by paper cut. I'd like to see some of that.
Yeah. Oh, I pulled up the wrong thing. See, this is why I need Greg here to keep talking while I pulled those things up. But is there anything else in this matchup that stands out to you as a point of emphasis for the Bills on either side of the ball, since you didn't get to maybe talk about the other side of the ball as much?
Sorry, my computer shut off while you were talking, so I got distracted. I apologize. What did you just ask me?
No, you got to talk about the other side of the ball. Is there any other points of emphasis? Yeah, is there any other points of emphasis on my side of the ball that you wanted to hit home here?
No, I think what I said when we came out, those two spots, I really think that intermediate, and it's one game, so the sample size is so small that it's hard to go off of it with Joe Brady versus Ken Dorsey. But every week I write the 5 stats piece post game of the Bills game, and one of the things I was harping on previous to Joe Brady was how bad Allen was 5 to 15, 5 to 20 yards. He just was off. He wasn't taking the old saying, you'll never go broke taking a profit. He wasn't taking the profits. And maybe it was Dorsey not scheming those guys open, but we saw plenty of times that someone was open and Allen still was doing the Jameis Winston YOLO play rather than taking that profit. But in this last game, which wasn't against a terrible defense, the Jets defense isn't bad. They just got smacked around by the Bills on Sunday. Allen took those. Allen was, if you go to the heat chart on Next Gen Stats, it was deep blue, which means fantastic in that 5 to 25 yard range.
Yeah.
So that I'd like to see that some more. And going back to what Chris said, their linebackers are run stuffing, A gap, B gap, downhill, type linebackers. So it can be had. That's where, again, Cook, Kincaid, Diggs on a slant, the tight end too, that great blocking tight end they have named Gabe Davis. If he can do some damage, down the seam, I would really like to see the Bills figure out how to do that. And if you and I and Chris see it, we know Joe Brady sees it.
Yeah. Yeah. On the other side of the ball, for me, It really is. You talked about it. It's the Bills' ability to get pressure and a really good offensive line, I think, is the strength versus strength matchup that I always look for is which one of those is going to budge in a big game. And the way the Bills' defensive line, Ed Oliver, is playing to be nice to see. I know he's not a full year removed from his surgery here, but it would be nice to see Vaughn, get in there and get some pressures. I've been defending him this week quite a bit, and that even though it's not what people expect, I think expectations are a little bit out of whack. And I see him gradually building up a little bit more each week, and he's right on the verge. There were some pressures last week. PFF didn't give him all the pressures that I thought that he maybe did have, but you're starting to see Leonard Floyd, obviously complete beast, doing his thing. And I do think that they're going to dial up some real crazy blitzes, like we've seen Sean McDermott getting more aggressive. Terrell Bernard coming in, Taron Johnson maybe on the outs is probably my biggest concern on that side of the ball. If he's not there, he does so much, and it's nothing against Cam Lewis. I think Cam Lewis is a fine player and he can come in, but I don't know that he can do some of the things that a Taron Johnson can do. And it almost makes me
Cam Lewis having 60% snap share.
Yeah, no. Well, I wanted to say that because in a game like this, one, especially if the weather's going to be wet, this is a good run team. Are we going to see more 4-3 base out of the Bills here if Taron Johnson can't go, which I'm going to assume under the concussion protocol, he's not going to be cleared by Sunday.
Yeah, I love Cam. I covered Cam at UB.
Yeah.
Cam and I were buddies. He was one of my favorite guys to cover. If you see the dog in him t-shirts that people were rocking there for a while, Cam has that dog in him.
Sure.
But he's not Taron. It's just the truth. It's just the truth.
Yeah, and it's what makes Taron so special is that ability to go up against a run team and he doesn't really lose out for you. And still, he's a plus player compared to most of your linebackers. And so I do think there's a chance that we see a lot of different formations getting into those long situations. They're going to want to get Terrell Dotson off the field and probably get into those dime looks. But on those early down situations, we might see, we saw it a little bit more last week with 3 linebackers on the field. And so you might see that as Taron's out here. Let's get into, I put Chris on the spot and getting a prediction, going through it. Usually Greg and I hem and haw about who's going to go first, but since you're a guest host,
I'll go first. I don't care.
You go first. So tell us.
That's fine.
Tell us how you think this game is going to go, and then give us the score prediction for this week.
I'm pretty darn close to what Chris said. I think this is a game. I think this is one where mid-fourth quarter, we're wondering how many fingernails we have left as we're chomping at them while we're watching the game. I could honestly see this being 24-20, 24-21, either team having the ball at the 2-minute warning, with the time. He mentioned Sirianni blowing timeouts and challenges. We know how that feels, seeing Sean McDermott challenge some of the stuff that he challenges. But I think this is going to be one of those games where it truly is who has the ball with a real possession at the end of the game. Is it Jalen Hurts or is it Josh Allen? And for the sake of wanting to appease the masses, I'll say Josh Allen has that ball with $1:57 left and he has to go 80 yards and he does it. And that's where, it's 27-24 Bills or 27-23 Bills, whatever it ends up being. I think that's how it goes. I think this is one of those games where when it's done, the fan base that won is super stoked that their team got that W. And the one that lost goes, damn, we let that get away.
Yeah. For me, this is, again, I usually stick to statistics, film, all that type of stuff. But at the end of the day, one thing that I really believe in the NFL is when you have a close matchup, sometimes it comes down to who's more desperate to win and who needs it more. And I think the Bills do. And so for that reason, also the fact that I'm very much still a homer and a Bills fan, and I can't go picking against them right now. They need this win. Although if you look at the stretch of games coming up here, I think they have to go 2-1 here in this stretch between Eagles, Chiefs, Cowboys. The one you really have to win is the Chiefs, right? It's a conference game. You're going to have to win that one. But going into the bye, winning 2 in a row, and if the offense is clicking going into the bye, winning 2 in a row, that type of momentum is really something that they can build on. And so I think they continue to click. I do think that this defense presents some problems in terms of being able to rush the passer, but that back 7 doesn't scare me. If the rain isn't too much and they are able to get something going through the air, I think Josh Allen can have another good game. I see the Bills putting up 30. I think it's going to be 30-27, 30-24 type of game. I think it'll come down to the second half. Eagles are a second half team. I can see the Bills jumping out early a little bit and then slipping up throughout the third quarter and really coming into that fourth quarter where it doesn't feel great. And the breakfast sandwich I made earlier in the morning starting to get that heart pumping a little bit harder. But I do think the Bills are going to be able to establish a nice win here to head into the bye. The real big thing is going to be staying healthy, right? Even though you're heading into a bye, they can't sustain more injuries along the way. Even the concussions type of things happened in Taron is just when you've built up Matt Milano, Daquan Jones, Taron Johnson, every other single thing just hurts so much more at this point. The other thing I would like to see in this game is I know it was the Jets. I know it was Zach Wilson. I know it was Nate Hackett, and all of that is definitely taken into account to the turnovers, but I think turnovers are a little bit contagious too, and that they build on themselves as well. And the Bills during that slump that they had, yeah, there were some problems on offense, but we had those arguments about the efficiency of the offense, and those turnovers were, some of them were wonky. Some of it was execution. Some of it was predictability of the Ken Dorsey offense, but the big problem was you weren't getting turnovers back on the other side of the ball, right? And so they're wonky a little bit, turnovers. They're not predictable, but I do think they start to build on themselves and some confidence comes. And guys like Rasul Douglas, once he gets his hands on the ball once, he's going to start to get his hands on the ball a little bit more. And as good as that Philly offense is, they've put the ball on the ground a few times and he's put the ball in harm's way and does every once in a while put a ball out there that you can really, somebody can get and flip the other way and flip the field. And so I want to see, on top of getting a win and putting up 30 points, is that defense continuing to build on that and getting some explosive plays and getting some turnovers to help the offense a little bit more.
Yeah, you and I both, we measure toxic differential a little bit different. I go 25 plus and turnovers and put them together, stealing that from Brian Billick, the old Ravens Super Bowl winning coach. But yeah, this was, I believe, the first time in 6 games that they won toxic differential. I think
probably
that's what it was. It was bad for a while. I mean, that Giants game, they lost like 8-1 or 8-2.
Yeah.
And somehow still squeaked out a win. Everything said they should have lost to the Giants, but it was the Giants. So you got the W. But you're right. Get this dub. Go to the bye. Go to Cabo. Go to Bora Bora, wherever the millionaires go for a week, and rest those wounds and come back.
I was going to say, just go to the training facility and just everybody get treatments.
Hey, I've gotten
chambers, whatever.
I've gotten into the cold bath thing recently. So just go to Antarctica and do some polar plunging.
There you go. We usually have guests tell us what they're up to. You've written 10,000 pieces or so for Cover One at this point.
I think it's almost 11, but close enough.
Yeah. What have you got coming up for people here this week that they can look forward to after filling themselves with copious amounts of turkey here this week?
Every week after the game is over, I write 5 stats where I kind of just find 5, not obscure, but just like, oh my goodness. I actually call it, would you believe me if
Yep. ...
is kind of how I frame those. And it's just 5 stats that some of them they mentioned on the broadcast that I was already waiting for. And I'm like, damn, they stole that from me. For instance, I was sitting on the total touchdowns for Josh Allen, waiting for him to get that one. And then the darn broadcast put it up and stole it from me. But other ones I mentioned earlier, how bad Allen had been between that 5 and 25 yards, little nuggets like that, just fun things for fan to look back. And maybe you could put it in your back pocket. And when you're talking with your father-in-law at the dinner table, you can bust it out, or at the bar with your buddies. And then leading up to the next game coming out Friday, I'll have my 5 storylines where I talk about, just kind of what are some of the things to look forward to. And it's not necessarily the X's and O's that we broke down today, but it's, Allen versus Hurts, who has more to gain or lose from this matchup. Sirianni, I've known Nick since 2008. So for me, living a mile from where he grew up, I put in my storylines. It's fun to see that this local kid is doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
I don't go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, it's such a fun matchup. I know Sean McDermott was asked by our good friend John Waro about his home being in Philly, but it's so fun because, Sirianni's home is here in Western New York.
Right.
Sean McDermott comes from the Philly area, and now they're both coaching. They've swapped homes and where they're coaching, and both teams are in position, even though the Bills' record isn't where the Eagles are. Both are considered by Vegas and all the odds makers and things like that. This is a big-time matchup in the NFL. So for them both to have success and flipping homes and the hometown team come into play, the new team where he's calling it home now, is such an interesting side storyline to this game. But one thing that gives people like Greg the ability to write in-depth, cool articles is when you become a member of OnePass. And so I also want to play this because Greg Thompson's not here. And I know a lot of people could just come to see that hair and hear his voice. And so listen to us tell you about why you should be a member of OnePass.
Many people ask us the best way to support us here at Cover One, and that is to sign up to become a Cover One OnePass member. That contribution helps give us the access to all the data and information we use to create the content that you love.
And I think most importantly, brings you into our community of insiders. It's a great community based on Slack. I know a lot of people don't want to be on social media anymore, or be in on those conversations. We bring all of it to you right in our great community of educated fans. And most importantly, you get access to our content creators.
Even better than that, everybody loves merch. You get awesome t-shirts, a cool decal, and a letter from the Cover One team signed directly to you.
All for $60. That gets you the entire season, next year's free agency and draft. $60. Click the link in the description. Cover One Insider. Become one today.
Man, those guys are freaking handsome and smart, and they speak well. Also, I forgot. I was just watching that, and I forgot that my sign was "Whitlock is a moron." That's a good one to have up on a video.
That's
evergreen tweet.
I was about to say, in the TV business, we call that evergreen.
Yeah, it really is. Greg, what are you guys doing for Thanksgiving over here?
We are hosting, like 20 something people.
Jeez, you're crazy.
Now, my house is
in your house?
In my home, yes. Cool. Now, so trying to think how my mom adopts people.
Yeah.
And I'm not even joking. I have 2 older adopted brothers that my mom found needed families, and she adopted. That's like the dead God's honest truth. So we have her bringing all her random adopted people. We have my in-laws, my great grandpa, my kids. It's going to be nuts. We've opened up. I recently started becoming the SID at Jamestown Community College down here, and I opened it up to a bunch of the student athletes that some unfortunately don't have a place to go, yep, and some are from freaking New Zealand. So we just have a smorgasbord. I think we spent $500 at Wegmans the other day. So it's just going to be a free for all, and hopefully everybody's happy and healthy and just blessed to get through another Thanksgiving.
Awesome. Well, I do hope you and your family have a fantastic Thanksgiving. All of our listeners out there, I don't know if you celebrate or participate in it or traveling or anything like that. I hope that it's fantastic for you and you find ways to share some of the gratitude. My family, it's just going to be the 4 of us this year for the first time. Nobody's traveling up this year. Everybody's staying put. Normally we get some strays, people that work with my wife, that their families, they've been displaced from where their families are, but that's not happening this year. So it's just the 4 of us keeping it low key, watching a lot of football, filling up with way too much food. But Greg is out traveling right now doing the Disney thing. So I hope if he's listening, I hope that you're having a fantastic time. The weather's terrible.
God bless.
The weather is terrible here. It has been cold and rainy, so screw you. And I hope that...
No, he showed us the picture of the poncho, so it's cool. It's rainy for him too.
Yeah, but I would much rather have 80 and rainy than 40,
Facts.
38 and rain.
Facts.
This is the worst. I'd rather it just be snowing. My kids, I can't send my kids out of my house when it's 38 and rainy. They don't want to go out there, but they would do some snow. But we appreciate all of you in the chat. I know it's a holiday weekend. I know a lot of people are out on doing travel and stuff like that, but all of you that showed up here to participate, show your love here in the show. We really appreciate that, guys. I hope everybody has a fantastic holiday, and we will catch you on the post-game show, hopefully celebrating a win. I think people liked it a little bit more last week, Greg, when Greg and I were not miserable and just like dreading being there for an hour having to talk about it. Hopefully we're talking about a big win heading into the bye, and we'll see you there. Make sure you're following everyone on the Cover One network. Just search Cover One on all your socials. You'll find all the shows, all the writers, everything through that. You guys know what to do. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe. You know how the internet works. Comment, all those good things. On behalf of Greg Vorse, producer Chris, I am Aaron Quinn. You've been listening to the Cover One Buffalo podcast, and we are out.